It's the first working day for the month of April. Good afternoon. It's time for Midday Live on TV3. I am Wendy Lai. A quick look at our top stories for this afternoon. Supreme Court resumes sitting to consider, resolve and adopt some issues to be raised by lawyers in the petition contesting the legitimacy of President John Dramani Mahama. And then more news this afternoon. President John Dramani Mahama files his tax returns in respect of income from book sales and farming business. On the firing front this afternoon, emergency workers in Tanzania's main city, Dar es Salaam, pull out at least 30 bodies from the ruins of the collapsed multi-story building. So I've got details of these stories and many others for this afternoon. Do stay with me. We start with our stories now, and the Supreme Court is sitting to consider, resolve and adopt some issues to be raised by lawyers in a petition contesting the legitimacy of President John Dramani Mahama. 3 MP petitioners, Nana Adudankwa Akufo-Addo, Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia and Jacob Echibilamte, are calling for the annulment of over 4 million votes cast during the December 2012 presidential polls. My colleague Roland Walker is at the Supreme Court and he will join us shortly to give us an update on proceedings over there.
At the end of the proceedings today, at least we have all the counsels from all parties involved, hoping that at least the members of the Supreme Court who are sitting before this very case will be the timeline to whether the election of President John Dramani Mahama was valid or not, or without any violation. But before that, we had the lead justice of the Supreme Court in the person of Justice Atukuba laying out what really the issues would be for which they would need to be starting the trial with. And specifically, he stated that if I just want to read that whether or not there were violations or omissions or more practices and irregularities in that very election conducted on the 7th and 8th of December 2012, and whether or not the said violations or omissions or more practices and irregularities, if any, affected the result of the election as it was. And following that, the lead justice, again Justice Atukuba, decided to state emphatically what the mode of trial would be, and he again made reference to the Kenyan example for which we've had the trial, as far as we're concerned, the very petition of Raila Odinga being looked at as far as those 22 polling stations and the voting processes that took place were concerned. And he thought that making those inferences, specifically looking at how expeditiously they were in a position to expedite that very case and so had brought it to an end, perhaps the Supreme Court of Ghana, that is currently constituted to sit on this very election petition case, could get some kind of lessons from there. And he was very instrumental in putting forth that very argument that it would be crucial that these would be adhered to. And he said it will come in the form of affidavits in terms of the evidence that will be presented before the courts and how they would be cross-examined. And those will come in the form of affidavits, applications, and those will be cross-examined. We had some concerns raised by Philip Addison, who is the lead counsel for Nanado and Co., who thought that as far as those endorsements will be, even though they were in agreement, they would want those evidence they had to be put forward before the court. Those cross-examinations are undertaken using PowerPoint presentations, and it also meant that we would have the use of ICT or information communication technology within the courts. And we had a lead justice, and as well as Justice Bafuboni, Justice Adinyere, and other justices, including Justice Gbadegbe, raising some concerns that even though we've had some automations before or currently within the court structure of the Republic of Ghana, there were some still problems that those networking difficulties were fraught with. And so it would not be possible, as far as they were concerned, to use PowerPoint presentations as far as trying to do those cross-examinations of evidence. Now, in going forward, we've had some concerns also being raised by the lead counsel for the President John Dramani Mahama in the person of Tony Letha, and he said that, well, at the end of the period when the justices of the court decided that perhaps they would admit as far as those cross-examinations with PowerPoint and other presentations, if they were indeed necessary, he thought that as far as he was concerned, he would want his witnesses that he'll call before the court be cross-examined on oath, and those would be orally undertaken. And the court, led by Justice Atuguba, was very emphatic, stating that, well, even though the rules of courts were indeed stating that we could have those cross-examinations orally, etc., it would be more prudent if those on affidavit would be the ones that would be of more consideration as far as this very case was concerned. And that was the nature of the argument that was ongoing in courts before we came to give you those as far as proceedings updates from the current election petition case that is being heard before the Supreme Court, headed by lead Justice Atuguba. And we'll keep on following the current case as it's ongoing in court and give you more updates. We'll have to go back to the news team for more updates in the studio.
Thank you very much indeed, Roland Walker. He brought us an update from the Supreme Court. But over here in the studio, we continue with the rest of the stories. Kwantenan Madina Municipal Assembly has seeded its budget for 2012 fiscal year with over 34,661 cedis. The Municipal Assembly at its first sessional meeting declared total expenditure of 310,507 cedis against an income of 265,846 cedis between June and December 2012.
The Lankwantana Madina Municipal Assembly is one of the newly created assemblies in June last year. The assembly, within the short period, mobilized 265,846.46 cedis in revenue, made up of property rates, fees and fines, licenses and rent charges. However, expenditure over the period went up by 34,661.30 cedis to stand at 310,507.76 cedis. Salaries and commissions accounted for 123,866.26 cedis. Travel and transport 25,945.50 cedis, with general expenditure going up to 99,054.75 cedis. The rest included 4,059 cedis in renewals, office equipment 9,720 cedis, whilst miscellaneous expenditure stood at 47,872.25 cedis. The assembly also received only 391,484.26 cedis out of a total of 684,273.94 cedis due from the common fund.
The following deductions were made: inauguration of the assembly 100,000, AFSCAM 9,600, NALAC dues 2,189.68, fumigation 80,000, sanitation improvement plan 101,000. I have painted this picture so that we all see the need to put our shoulders to the wheel and generate more revenue to promote development in our municipality.
On education, the Municipal Assembly paid a total of 39,001 cedis to 4 caterers being arrears from the then Ga East Assembly. Aside these difficulties, the Assembly had taken giant steps towards development. These include the reconstruction of bent market sheds and the decongestion of hawkers at the Zongo Junction. The Assembly also trained a total of 868 youth in various models of the Ghana Youth Employment and Entrepreneurial Development Agency. The first sessional meeting also endorsed a proposal to relocate the Medina Zonal Council from its current location, which is now serving as the Municipal Assembly, and create 2 additional councils at Oyarifa and West Medina to increase governance and revenue generation.
It's still Midday Live on TV3. Remember, you can always get interactive on Facebook and Twitter. It's news on TV3 or short code 1734. But like I did say earlier on, President John Dramani Mahama this morning filed his tax returns at the Kimbu office of the Domestic Tax Revenue Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority. Article 675 of the 1992 Constitution exempts the president from paying tax. The president complied in respect of income from book sales and farming business. The move by President Mahama, he hopes, will encourage voluntary compliance by all citizens, particularly those in public office. So there in your shorts, President John Dramani Mahama this morning went out to file his tax returns at the Kimbu office of the Domestic Tax Revenue Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority. Article 675 of the 1992 Constitution exempts the president from paying tax. The president complied in respect of his income from book sales and his farming business. The move by the president, he hopes this will encourage voluntary compliance by all citizens, particularly public officials. So there's President Mahama in your short. See him file his tax returns, and he did this at the Kimbu office of the Domestic Tax Revenue Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority early on this morning.
I am a taxpayer, Ghanaian taxpayer, registered with the Kimbu office of the Ghana Revenue Authority. And I came today to file my returns and pay my taxes for 2012, the year 2012. I have done so religiously every year, and this year I decided to come personally to pay my taxes as a symbolic gesture to Ghanaians, you know, that all the good things that we want, the utilities, the roads and everything, comes from our taxes. And we can only get them if we all do our civic duty of paying our taxes. And so I hope that this, my small symbolic gesture, would help the Ghana Revenue Authority in their public education and awareness that everybody should file their tax returns and pay their taxes so that we can all have the good things of life that we have been aspiring to. I filed my tax returns for the 2012 year, where I was vice president most of the time. But even as president, if you have any other income apart from your official income, you're supposed to pay tax on it. And so it's not true that presidents shouldn't pay tax on any income. You don't pay income on your known and official pay salary that is given you, but any extra income that you have, you must pay taxes and you must declare it.
Thank you for coming, and well done.
Thank you very much.
So watching Midday Live with me, Wendy Lai. Now, President Mahama last week issued an 18-month ultimatum to all metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives to complete the street naming and house numbering exercise. The program is expected to help increase government revenue through property rates while enhancing accessibility in cities and other communities. Now, one of our Ashanti regional correspondents, William Evans Nkum, will shortly join us and tell us how the exercise is taking shape in Kumasi, in the Ashanti region. So like I did say on while we wait, try to get William Evans Nkum, and he's going to tell us more on the street naming exercise in the Ashanti region.
We are going to discuss something very simple, but before, let me give you this analogy. Imagine you're walking on the street and somebody asks you for a direction to a particular place. All that we hear normally is a whole drama. I mean, a whole chapter of the beginning of a whole story. story. You normally hear, oh, you move 50 meters from where we are standing, there's a junction on your right, you negotiate that junction, you're going to see a big giant baobab tree, and just behind the baobab, a whole story. Sometimes if the person is not careful, he actually finds his or herself in a pool of confusion. That is what we are going to look or discuss this afternoon. But I'm not going to take the wind out of the sail, because I have with me two experts who are going to share with us, the whole thing about street naming and then house numbering and its relevance to our economic development. But before then, let me remind you of what the president said during the launch of the National Urban Policy somewhere Thursday. He has actually instructed, or the president has instructed the local government ministry and all MMDAs to ensure that all streets are named and numbered in the next 18 months. But like I said earlier, I'm going to speak to one expert to tell us what is this all about. Street naming and house numbering system. I have with me here Mr. Kofi Owusu Bempa. He is from ASI zip code, and he is into street naming and house numbering system. A very good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Well, tell me, Mr. Owusu Bempa, you are into street naming and house numbering. What is it all thing about street naming and house numbering? How does it actually operate? Very brief. Yeah.
A street must have a name.
Okay.
And once you got a name, there are houses on the street, and you have to have house numbers.
Yeah.
The houses on the street should have a house numbers. Like we are standing here, we are in A Life, and its A Life is 100 or 32 the first Avenue.
Oh, okay.
And this is the 32 the First Avenue.
All right. So if the camera could tilt to or say to the First Avenue, just to elaborate more on what it's actually talking about. So that is Osei to the First Avenue, and that's exactly where we are standing, or our current location now. Mr. Kofi Bempa, tell me now, if assuming yes, I know I'm on around Osei to the First Avenue, but I'm looking for a specific house. Okay, is it enough, me knowing the street, is it enough to actually locate that specific house? Because I could see a number of houses, on the shoulder of this very street.
The actual street, if it has got a house number, and then the street has a name, it's very easy to locate. But what you have put in place is that we place a map, a street address map of Edum, so that if you are looking for A Life, or you're looking for an address, you can refer to it, because they have the house number plate on it, and there is a street name over here.
Okay.
And then we have also got it on a phone, that you can also check it on your mobile phone, and you can find the Doom directory, and you can find it.
All right. Now, what you are talking is quite complicated to the viewing public. You've shown us a map, you've shown us a mobile phone, a system that you can actually download or install this thing on it. Now, tell me, I specifically, how will this kind of actually be simple or demystifying this very thing to the average Ghanaian? How can he use all these things to make or access strategic places very easily?
Yeah, in the first place, we didn't have such thing in place for some years ago.
Oh, okay.
Now we have it.
Okay.
But it now come to public awareness,
Oh, okay.
getting the public to know it, have the map, they can pick it up, and then some of them have it on the phone that they can really locate where it is. And then in the directory, we've also list landmarks of the area, like you are talking about Central Police Station. There's a street address that can locate you. So this is a way of making sure that the map should be in place, the street name should be in place, the house numbers should be there.
All right.
So that you can really give directions, and you can even locate where people live.
All right, so public education is very paramount here, but we have to also look at it from economic perspective. To what extent is actually this thing or this system going to grease the wheels to national development? And that is why I have with me here Dr. Yusuf Hadrad. He is an economist and also a lecturer at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Sir, tell us, street naming and house numbering, to what extent can it actually contribute to national development?
Yes, it's very, very important to name streets and also number buildings. And this is so important to the government, to businesses, and to the individual. To the individual, for example, in terms of fighting crime, If somebody lives at a remote area, the place is numbered, that the houses are numbered, the streets have got names, and there is a problem happening or criminals are attacking that person, he can easily call the police, give them the location, or somebody, a neighbor, can easily do that. And that person can easily be set free or can be helped. On businesses as well. For instance, I have a business at somewhere, the place, streets are there, the place is numbered. I can easily direct customers to come there. And even in my house, if the buyer is living at a place which has street numbers, buildings have been numbered, streets have got names, goods can easily be delivered without necessarily walking to the shop and telling them, bring it to me. You only need to have your address, and that can easily be done. And also to the government. It's so important and critical to the government. For example, a census is to be conducted. This can be key to government. We do not necessarily have to send enumerators to go from house to house doing that. We can send mere letters.
And
so it's educated.
Yeah, I'm not cutting you, but the president also cited that it can also even enhance revenue mobilization,
Exactly.
for example, property rates.
Exactly. Property rate, with that, we can identify all the houses and know that we have this number of houses. If new ones are coming, we can easily capture them. And that is so key in terms of revenue mobilization, in terms of conducting census, and all these will help develop the economy rapidly. I cannot imagine an economy that is claimed to be developed and without you being able to identify houses easily. For instance, a visitor is coming. How do you direct the person to your house if the streets are not named, the houses are not numbered? Almost we have to get somebody to be going around. And the cost involved in this, the time involved is so huge. So I believe that this is a very important project. It's a very important exercise, and whoever is involved, I think, should do his or her part to ensure that this project is successful, as the president is saying.
Right, so it's very, very important that we have system actually in place to ensure, like the president said, improve revenue mobilization, also make identification of certain strategic places more and more easier. So from the Prempeh, the First Avenue, I'm William Evans Ingum. Or say to the from the Prempeh, or say to the First Avenue, I'm William Evans Ingum. Over to you, studios.
So that was our Ashanti regional correspondent William Evans Inkum giving us an update on the street naming exercise taking place in the Ashanti region. We'll continue with the rest of our stories. And a member of parliament for Madina, Alhaji Amadou Sogo, has taken a swipe at assemblymen in the La Kwantanan Madina municipality, calling on them to eschew double standards. The member of parliament was reacting to the possible return of evicted traders to the Zongo Junction and other affected areas in Madina.
The decongestion exercise carried out by the Lankwantana Municipal Assembly was to, among others, ensure a reduction in traffic congestion, waste generation and create access to fire tenders in emergencies. But most recalcitrant traders appeared not to be yielding to the demand. While some continue to loiter around the Zongo Junction, others moved to other equally unapproved areas with their wares. Worst of all are those opposite the police station who had returned with their containers blocking access to the market, and they seem to have the backing of some assemblymen.
So I went there to ask them, why are they here? Names started coming. And especially me, when I go and I ask and they mention somebody's name, an assemblyman, I wouldn't go further. And what I also don't want is we keep on promising we will resettle you. That is another dangerous thing. If you did not bring the person there, why are you looking for a place for the person? And are we going to turn the municipality to a market? The whole Greater Accra and Medina is now known as a market municipal assembly.
Alhaji Amadou Sorogo also cautioned the assemblymen over disunity.
I was really a little saddened when I got words that there was a small misunderstanding amongst the assemblymen and the chief executive and the assembly. Let us help ourselves. All those areas come together and take a decision and move them out. No sympathy. If we slacken and they come back, it will be difficult for us to move them back.
A look round the area exposed tons of waste deposits in the gutters and along the pavement.
The Doma Forest District Manager of the Forestry Commission, Kofi Treme, has cautioned people living in admitted settlements in the Pamubrekum Forest Reserve to desist from activities that will result in forest fires. He made the call when TV3 called on him to assess the state of some forest in Ghana.
The Pamu Brekum Forest Reserve lies between Brekum and Doma assemblies and has 4 admitted communities, namely Kradaso, Asusu No. 1, Djin, and Abuabuja. The reserve has been gutted by fire on yearly basis. The whole forest, including the green belt, has been devastated by fires. It remains one of the 5 degraded forests in Ghana that have been turned into plantations. The outbreak of fires during the deadly season has utterly degraded the reserve and rendered certain portions bare. The forest plantation is mainly of teak, one of the fast-growing tree species. The other portion of the degraded forest that has not been planted remains bare.
Is it every kind of tree or any kind of tree that you use in building the green belts, or you have specific trees, and why?
Yeah, we have specific trees like the acacia siamia. We know that it grows faster and is able to, form canopy within some shortest possible time. Along the boundaries and, of course, the road that passes through the reserve, we get the growth of grasses and other weedy growths that can fuel fire. So when we plant the acacia, it's able to establish fast, so that in that situation, all the other weeds that are flammable will go off because they are light demanders, and when the canopy is formed, they are not able to survive under the acacia.
The Doma District Manager of the Forestry Commission noted if action is not taken and the attitudes of the residents do not change, degradation will continue. Asked why admitted settlements and farms pose threats to the forest, the Bonoafo Regional Manager of the Forestry Commission intimated the settlements and the farms existed before the forests were designated as reserved.
If you are doing today, we will have paid them off and have an intact forest, because they are creating big problems for us. Now that we don't have enough staff to contain even this, what we have, people are extending. See, previously there were few admitted farm owners working, and then we had boundaries, we call it internal boundaries, which are being mined by forest guards, and they were cleaning. But these days, it's difficult to even have the forest guard, the full complement of them.
Meanwhile, residents of Kradaso, one of the admitted settlements, are calling on government to establish a junior high school to enable the kids in the community, numbering about 200 on the average, progress from primary to JHS.
The most important thing is how to get reading materials for the children. The whole school is put into only 3 classrooms due to inadequate teachers. Having additional school building will be cherished.
Again, residents want to be brought on board the afforestation program and proper demarcation of lands given to the planters.
So like I did say earlier on, do get interactive. Facebook and Twitter is News on TV3 or short code 1734. Send your comments on the stories you do see on Midday Live. But we'll continue with some more stories. And university students at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology have expressed worry at the strike action by members of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG. But we'll bring you that story later on in the bulletin. Next is What Do You Think? How do you think the strike by university lecturers will affect the academic calendar of public universities? That's what we're finding out on What Do You Think?
It's going to affect us greatly because we have a lot to do this semester, and as you can see, if there are no lecturers, teaching doesn't become effective. And one thing about students, is very hard for them to learn on their own. They need assistance from somebody. So with my perspective, I think lecturers going on strike, something much should be done onto that so that we can have them back to the classroom for effective studies and learning.
We are not due with a lot of our courses yet, so if they go on strike, it will affect us, and I really want them to come back.
Okay. We are really worried about the examination because we don't know if we'll be able to cover enough to write the papers, and we don't know if they'll alter it to factor it into the final paper, how they are set. We hope they would come back.
We haven't finished with our syllables, and we had Easter break and all that, and we've missed a lot of lectures, so it's going to affect us. We are in the 10th weekend. We haven't finished with some of the lectures, so it's really going to have a very big impact on us. I think they should, consider us and come back.
I'm in my final year, and I think it's really going to affect me because I would have to submit long essays at deadlines which will be fixed by lecturers because they are coming back from strike. So I think generally it's going to affect everybody. I think they should think of us and that kind of school.
So those were some of your views on what you think, but we look at some more on Midday Live. Dr. Mohammed Ibn Chambers arrived in Khartoum to take up the position of head of African Union, United Nations mission in Darfur, and joint chief mediator over the next weeks. His new position as chief will be meeting with a range of top Sudanese government officials, Darfur authorities, and ambassadors, United Nations representatives, as well as African Union, United Nations mission leadership and staff. Dr. Ibn Chambers, who replaces Mr. Ibrahim Gambari, brings to his new position extensive experience after a long and distinguished career in both international and government forums. And most recently, Mr. Ibn Chambers served as Secretary General of the African, Caribbean and Pacific Group of States. You're still watching Midday Live, and stories making headlines on the firing front. Emergency workers in Tanzania's main city, Dar es Salaam, pull out at least 30 bodies from the ruins of a collapsed multi-story building. We'll bring you that shortly. But Nanika is standing by for business news after this break.
Right, so after that long break of holiday enjoying, it's now time for business to bounce back. A very good afternoon to you, and thanks for joining us on the business segment right here on Midday Live. My name is Nanika Asare. This afternoon, after the long holiday, as I stated, the Ghana cedi has bounced back, rather looking not too good, making losses on the interbank markets, but there was a little stability for the dollar. Well, we'll be looking at that as well as more on energy. And if you're looking for a place to relax and enjoy, we're talking about tourism. We'll also be looking more into that this afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Let's quickly look at the detail, beginning from energy. And the gas processing plants cannot be completed in June 2013. Delay in release of funds will push completion date to December 2013. This is a report by Frederick Clarence Williams.
You recall that we had hoped to finish this project before the end of last year. But because of delayed payments by the Ministry of Finance to CDB, paying of the Canada Fund, and because as a result of that we could not pay Sanopec, the project was suspended for 2 months, just 2 months. But the ripple effect of that 2 months has gone beyond 6 months, because some of the companies which were doing the procurement for certain lead items had to stop the process of procuring the long lead items. So what happened was that when we paid them eventually after 2 months or 2 months, they have lost their manufacturing slots. They have to start all over again.
According to Dr. George Sipayanki, the Ghana Gas Company was working hard to effectively discharge its mandate.
Right now, we've made so much progress. We've finished constructing the offshore pipeline. That's from the deep water end pipeline end. That was done by GNPC. And we've done the 45 kilometers offshore pipeline. And we've now come ashore. We've now hit the landfall. And we are doing a thrust boring to cut across the road to get a pipe to where the plant will be.
He said when the gas processing plant project is completed, it will ensure constant supply of gas to end the gas shortage in the country.
We do the turbo expander. We're going to produce more LPG, 1,140 or so metric tons per day. So when that is added to that of Tor, we shall have enough to feed the country. We're hoping that when they get a second train, 2-3 years' time, we'll be able to produce more LPG and possibly even export some to our neighboring countries. So we are really poised to finish this project this year and making sure that we bring to an end the problems that we're having, which are happening every year.
Well, let's move away from energy now. And once a while, you would want a place to relax and free yourself from all the troubles when it comes to work. And making a choice is sometimes difficult. Choosing a destination for relaxation and recreation is sometimes difficult. But what really informs your choice? Is it the environment, the hotel facilities, or proximity to your home? Well, my colleague Kenneth Osayampofo takes us to Sehwiwioso, a land of wonderful topography and beautiful hotels.
Sehwiwioso, a cocoa growing community, abounds in rich forest reserves, great topography and beautiful hotels. The vegetative cover of this part of the western region includes natural forests which provide opportunities for young people in the timber industry. The name Wioso, from the Akan expression, Wioso, literally meaning the sun is shining, typically reflects how scorchy the sun shines daily. In the face of rising concern in global warming and air pollution, Sehwiwioso provides an escape from this deadly menace, making it a classic example of a destination for relaxation to refresh the body through the inhalation of clean, fresh air. Giving consideration to the fact that forests absorb huge quantities of carbon emissions, the air in and around Sehwi is cleaner. The Hill Sanctuary, which is about 20 minutes drive from the center of Sehwiwioso Township, in another instance, could provide opportunity for spiritual communion with God as well as edification. The desire to visit Wioso for better health should not be a challenge, as good quality hotels abound. They range from the simplest to the sophisticated, providing facilities to the comfort of the client.
We have 21 rooms here. We have single room, a single bed with air condition, fan, TV. It's like a self-contained. Everything. We have internet facilities. We also have standard room. Then we have a suite. That's twin bed with air condition, big rooms.
The hilly topography of the town provides an opportunity for a beautiful viewing pleasure with a hill sanctuary from afar.
Well, I'm sure Kenneth had a lot of fun. The next time when you decide to travel, maybe you'd want to visit Sehwiwioso. Let's look at some other news now. In the Ministry of Lands and Forestry has blocked 77 small-scale mining sites as part of efforts to curb galamsey activities in the country. The sector minister, Alhaji Inusa Hussaini, disclosed at a Chamber of Commerce Council meeting small-scale mining sites covering 368 kilometers were also being investigated. Benjamin Edo has more.
The Chamber of Mines was worried about the activities of the galamsey operators in the country, noting the challenges in the industry cannot be the sole responsibility of the ministry in charge. The Chamber believes the time has come for the country to sharpen its vision and embark on supportive comprehensive measures that will ensure further development of the mining industry. The Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber of Mines, Dr. Tony Obing, suggested the establishment of a Minerals Revenue Fund. He was worried that the receipts from the mineral extraction continue to be hauled into the consolidated fund.
The industry, often led by the Ghana Chamber of Mines, point to its leadership in attracting foreign exchange to the country, in generating internal revenue, in supporting our communities as well.
The president of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, Dan Uredu, stressed that it is important that they agree on how to address the integration of all aspects of the economy.
We continue to create and sustain real linkages with emerging realities in the economy. Of particular importance is how the pool of our multidisciplinary industry of human resource experts environmental professionals, geologists, civil, electrical, mechanical, and mining engineers could be creatively integrated into the widening scope of the national economic activity.
The Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Alhaji Yunusa Hussaini, was worried about the extent of destruction of water bodies and other natural resources through illegal mining.
Mining must create employment that matches its type, provide fair economic returns to the community and protects the environment. As recently announced, government will rigidly enforce the laws of Ghana by addressing the illegal invasion of foreigners in our small-scale mining sector. This problem has been fully investigated.
He said punitive policies would be taken against any concession owner caught collaborating with illegal miners in this direction.
Right, so we wrap up our business now, looking quickly at how the Ghana cedi performed against other major trading currencies. Well, the cedi resumed trading on the interbank market with respective losses to most majors while remaining relatively stable to the US dollar. So let's just quickly look at it, not on the interbank market, but rather on the forex markets. Figures here coming in for the dollar. Right, so it remains stable with the dollar. 1 Ghana cedi, 92 pesos. Not much changes. Also selling at 1 Ghana cedi, 96 pesos. But making losses against other trading currencies like the pound. Right, 2 Ghana cedis, 87 pesos is what you get it at the forex market, which of course differs from one bureau to the other. And 2 Ghana cedis, 97 pesos is the selling price. Later this afternoon, we'll be giving you more on the commodity markets, but let's look at how it's also fared against the euro. 2 Ghana cedis, 51 pesos for the buying price, and the selling price for 2 Ghana cedi, 58 pesos. After we give you more on the commodity market, we'll also be giving you the tips to grow your businesses. But that's it on business this afternoon. My name is Naneke Asari. We have Joel next with sports. Good afternoon.
Well, hello there and welcome. This is the sports segment on Midday Live. My name is Joel Champon. This afternoon, let's start with boxing, and newly crowned IBO bantamweight champion Joseph the Fresh King Kong Agbeko is moved up to the super bantamweight division. He is to move up to the super bantamweight division, and the boxer who struggled to beat Colombian Luis Melendez here in Accra is maiden Fresh King Kong Entertainment Promotions believes he has what it takes to compete in that weight category.
The former IBF bantamweight champion Joseph Agbeko was unimpressive on his 33rd birthday when he defeated Colombian Luis Melendez with a unanimous decision to claim the IBO world title on Friday, March 22. But the boxer has poured cold water on the prospect of another showdown with Melendez, who called for a rematch. The new champion has his eyes fixed on big money fights in the United States at the super bantamweight division.